experience has been since he got Pi. He doesn't have to deal with annoying cookie pop-ups or targeted ads. Day 3. He can finally binge YouTube and Twitch without interruption because Pi works on every website you visit on Chrome. Day 4. He discovers that when he does see ads, he can get paid to see them. Day 5. His life has improved 1,000 times because of the peace he gets from experiencing an ad-free internet. He decides he never wants to go back to life without Pi and tells all his friends and family.
The situation could deteriorate further. Los Angeles is bracing for even more destruction. It is the second largest American city, also the home of Hollywood. It is being torn apart by the blaze. The scale of devastation is massive. More than 12,000 structures have been destroyed. So far, at least 24 people have died. Another 23 are missing. The economic losses have soared to $275 billion, and it is not over yet. Two of the biggest wildfires in LA are still burning. The first one is the Palisades. It is the largest wildfire burning over 23,700 acres of land. Only 14% of this fire has been contained. It still poses a threat to residential areas. The second one is in Eaton. It has scorched more than 14,000 acres. It is 33% contained. Compared to others, this fire is now spreading slowly, but the days ahead will be challenging because experts are predicting strong winds in LA with speeds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour. Local officials say these winds could be as strong as a hurricane.
The National Weather Service is predicting close to hurricane force level winds, and so we're making urgent preparations.
So the worst is yet to come. Strong winds could make the wildfires even more intense. They could spread, and the firefighters will face more challenges. Planes and helicopters, which spray water and flame retardant, won't be able to fly. Plus, new wildfires are already breaking out.
The best moments deserve the best eggs, especially when they're Eggland's Best. Tastes so deliciously fresh, with better nutrition too. We love our eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
The Pacific Palisades, one of the wealthiest communities in the U.S., is experiencing the worst fire in its history. Situated at the foothills of the Santa Monica Mountains, the Palisades typically escape damage as Santa Ana winds blow past, since the winds will usually blow any fire up to the north. However, this time, hurricane-force winds drove the flames directly into the neighborhood, reducing many homes to ashes. On January 7th, around 10:20 a.m. local time, a live camera with Alert California, a UC San Diego program to monitor wildfires and disasters in real time, picks up smoke rising. This is the first sighting of the Palisades fire. 6 minutes later, Plane Spotter at LAX catches first plumes of smoke on its live stream.
Not what we want to see here in Southern California. Fire has now broke out.
At 10:58 a.m., resident David Hansen received a video from his mother showing thick orange smoke billowing outside her house on Piedra Morada Drive. The fire size was upgraded from 10 to 200 acres, while containment remained at 0%.
We're in the Palisades Highlands and the fire road is literally on fire.
David Hansen drove to reach his mother and recorded the Palisades fire as it burned an entire hillside beside the road. From his mother's backyard, David filmed helicopters dropping water onto the nearby fires. He tells ABC News he saw them hovering over the edge of Santa Ynez Reservoir and were using The Pacific Palisades, one of the wealthiest communities in the U.S., is experiencing the worst fire in its history. Situated at the foothills of the Santa Monica Mountains, the Palisades typically
If you're 35 or older and still don't have life insurance, we're going to show you just how easy it is to apply for up to $1 million in coverage with no physical medical exam or face-to-face meeting required, even if you have some health conditions or you're a smoker. If you're hesitant about getting life insurance, remember this. We don't buy life insurance for ourselves. We buy it for those who depend on us, whether it's a wife, a husband, kids, an aging parent.
From not only this fire, but other fires now burning here across Southern California.
I was getting more and more frantic as you call at least 4 or 5 times, and I had to basically level with them and say, we are stuck here.
Canyon that was on fire that was in the middle of the road where people had to abandon their cars. I know people that live in that gated community right there on Sunset and Palisades, the hillside behind my house.
Now as we come back.
I'll just start in the house and pull in too.
Okay.
from not only this fire, but other fires now burning here across Southern California.
I was getting more and more frantic as you call at least 4 or 5 times, and I had to like basically.
All right, so listen up. State Farm was trying to charge me $197 for car insurance. No, thank you.
Because there are so many active situations here between these two neighborhoods, fire approaching both of these neighborhoods. I've got to tell you, in some cases, you can already see where the brush clearance behind some of these homes has already spared the homes. If the brush clearance wasn't there, if they hadn't cleared the area around their property and their backyards, they would already be on fire. But a fire on Kenneth is now multiple fires. I know it's all one fire. We call it the Kenneth fire. But as I look out the window from the helicopter, there are fires in various directions. We're talking about a large area where there are multiple fires burning and now multiple neighborhoods being touched at the same time. I just want to make that really clear. This isn't like one specific body of flames that these crews are trying to chase. They've already got tankers showing up. They've got helicopters over here. They are trying to flood the zone with structure protection, and they will do so at all costs to save as many structures as possible. But as you're seeing from our pictures, there is already flames surrounded by homes, homes surrounded by flames. At this point, we have not seen any properties actually touched yet, but the threat is imminent. It's already tripled or quadrupled in size. We're talking already comfortably, I can tell you, this has already burned hundreds of acres, and you can see all of the landscaping. Look at all the palm trees in this neighborhood. Look at all of the landscaping. Look at people already trying to get in their cars and getting out of Dodge. It is time to get your essentials and get out now. Grab your pets. Get out now. Yep, that's the, what was that, the County Hawk? I'm sorry, that's a Colson. That's a quick reaction force. The quick reaction force now jumping into action here, as that Sikorsky just dropped a couple thousand gallons of water on that hotspot just behind that very large home, is now under the gun. This is just west of the neighborhood. Your headset's off. Sorry about that. I should tell you, the reason my audio is cutting out is because the county and the city are sending out emergency alerts, so everybody's cell phone is blaring right now with the updates on the evacuation orders in this neighborhood. And of course, when that happens, and it does interfere with our audio. So when you body of flames in the middle of these homes, I don't see any homes touched yet, but look at that. There are homes on both sides of this brush area. That was Shady Grove Place, Sloan Place, Newcastle Lane, Melbourne Court. We're talking about two separate areas, so I don't want to confuse everybody. It's a large area now that is an immediate threat. You have two separate neighborhoods that are now being touched by this fire at the exact same time. So you've got one subdivision, Newcastle Lane, Sloan Place right here along Shady Grove Place, and then you have the neighborhood Malibu Canyon, Gates Canyon Park immediately to the west. Some of these fires that are not jumping or spotting are kind of running in to dead ends. They're running out of fuel once they get to the brush clearance, and those houses could be saved because of that brush clearance. That brush clearance buys time for those homeowners and for the fire department to get there, get the structure protection in place. Even in a wind-driven fire where it's so easy to jump over a fire break or a road, or even if you've done the proper brush clearance, the wind could easily jump it, but you're still buying time. You're giving yourself every chance. Eden Park Drive between Adamore Road and Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Thousand Oaks Boulevard is the main street that runs through this neighborhood, and there is fire in this community that is brushing right up against these homes. Yeah. Well, it's yeah. They've been there's yes. You're right. It's certainly. Because there are so many active situations here between these two neighborhoods, fire approaching both of these neighborhoods. I've got to tell you, in some cases, you can already see where the brush clearance behind some of these homes has already spared the homes. If the brush clearance wasn't there, if they hadn't cleared the area around their property and their backyards, they would already be on fire. But a fire on Kenneth is now multiple fires. I know it's all one fire. We call it the Kenneth fire. But as I look out the window from the helicopter, there are fires in various directions. We're talking about a large area where there are multiple fires burning and now multiple neighborhoods being touched at the same time. I just want to make that really clear. This isn't like one specific body of flames that these crews are trying to chase. They've already got tankers showing up. They've got helicopters over here. They are trying to flood the zone with structure protection, and they will do so at all costs to save as many structures as possible. But as you're seeing from our pictures, there is already flames surrounded by homes, homes surrounded by flames. At this point, we have not seen any properties actually touched yet, but the threat is imminent. It's already tripled or quadrupled in size. We're talking already comfortably, I can tell you, this has already burned hundreds of acres, and you can see all of the landscaping. Look at all the palm trees in this neighborhood. Look at all of the landscaping. Look at people already trying to get in their cars and getting out of Dodge. It is time to get your essentials and get out now. Grab your pets. Get out now.
The average person sees around 10,000 online ads daily. Here's how a man's life would change if he used Pi. Day 1, he would install Pi on his computer without spending a dime because it's 100% free. Day 2, he realizes how clean and cluttered.
Yeah, what was that, the County Hawk? I'm sorry, that's a Colson. That's a quick reaction force. The quick reaction force now jumping into action here as that Sikorsky just dropped a couple thousand gallons of water on that hotspot just behind that very large home, is now under the gun. This is just west of the neighborhood.
Your headset's off.
Sorry about that. I should tell you, the reason my audio is cutting out is because the county and the city are sending out emergency alerts, so everybody's cell phone is blaring right now with the updates on the evacuation orders in this neighborhood. And of course, when that happens, it does interfere with our audio. So when you have a body of flames in the middle of these homes, I don't see any homes touched yet, but look at that. There are homes on both sides of this brush area. That was Shady Grove Place, Sloan Place, Newcastle Lane, Melbourne Court. We're talking about two separate areas, so I don't want to confuse everybody. It's a large area now that is an immediate threat. You have two separate neighborhoods that are now being touched by this fire at the exact same time. So you've got one subdivision, Newcastle Lane, Sloan Place right here along Shady Grove Place, and then you have the neighborhood Malibu Canyon, Gates Canyon Park immediately to the west. Some of these fires that are not jumping or spotting are kind of running in to dead ends. They're running out of fuel once they get to the brush clearance, and those houses could be saved because of that brush clearance. That brush clearance buys time for those homeowners and for the fire department to get there, get the structure protection in place. Even in a wind-driven fire where it's so easy to jump over a fire break or a road, or even if you've done the proper brush clearance, the wind could easily jump it, but you're still buying time. You're giving yourself every chance. Eden Park Drive between Adamore Road and Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Thousand Oaks Boulevard is the main street that runs through this neighborhood, and there is fire in this community that is brushing right up against these homes.
The smoke, all of that, the winds are have died down here, but those can just get picked up by winds for miles, and they can go for miles and light down, fall on somebody's roof, and a whole new fire will pop up. So this house is gone. This house is now underway. The left side of this house is ignited, and also now the house nearby it. But literally, I mean, these embers are like snowflakes. They're falling all around us. The sun, I mean, this is what's so crazy. If you can't even see the sun, it is completely blacked out. There just are not enough fire crews able to deal with all the blazes that are going on. This house is completely gone. The next house next door looks like the roof has just caught fire over there. The fire has also spread across the street. There are at least 3 houses ablaze. And then the fire, just in the last 2 minutes or 3 minutes, has spread to that vehicle, which was parked out front. There was a slight explosion as some of the gas went up. A fire truck passed by here. There's another larger blaze up there, which they are going to try to deal with right now. We're at Harriet in Altadena, Harriet Street. The fire has spread now to this house, which is really now engulfed in flames. But I mean, it's just surreal. I mean, look at this, even a small thing like this tree is burning from the inside. So on this block, I count.
I got played. My old asphalt roof was worn out and needed to be replaced.
Devastation comes to California.
All right, dude. Yeah, let's get out of here.
Residents flee for their lives.
There's nothing we can do now, bro.
We had everything, like the sentimental things. Like my mom passed away. I had only a few things of hers left.
All the stuff that's here is replaceable. People are not. So having the family is the most important thing.
Homes are destroyed on an unprecedented scale.
People would normally be driving up and down here with surfboards on top of their cars, ready to enjoy a day at the beach. But right now, it just looks like some sort of apocalypse.
Firefighters struggle to hold back the flames.
All 29 fire departments in our county are not prepared for this type of widespread disaster.
But how did it happen? And why did the fires spread so quickly? Los Angeles is America's biggest city on the West Coast, and people here are used to wildfires. They've destroyed homes and businesses time and time again, but no one could have predicted the scale of the tragedy about to unfold when news first broke of one fire in one community.
You can see they are dropping water. There you go. You can see it happen right there. And there are some hand crews on the ground. Would you mind talking to us for a second? Okay, what's your name?
Charles.
Charles, have you been evacuated from the area or not yet?
Not yet. And we have seen that before. So nothing new to us for the last 32 years that I've been here.
Within hours, things are getting serious. Residents can scarcely believe their eyes.
Fires were this close to the cars. People left their cars on Palisades Drive. Yeah. Burning up the hillside, the palm trees, everything's going.
What happened?
There's a lot of fire right there. That's why the people coming. We leave the car.
They said to get out of your car? Okay.
It's just so sad. And I feel for everyone that's lost property and fires. I've never been this close to it. Driving down the canyon was really very shattering.
Huge smoke plumes can be seen rising above the Pacific Palisades area of the city, and residents have been issued with an evacuation order.
Please take this wind emergency very seriously. As you heard from the speakers before me, this is something that is going to get worse throughout the night, so we all have to look out for each other.
The fire broke out around 10:30 in the morning in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood. It's an upscale area between Santa Monica and Malibu, home to many famous residents.
Sitting here and waiting to find out whether we're going to be evacuated or not it's like the time can't go by any slower. Yes, baby, come here, Baba. So instead, we decided to pass the time by putting together bags of clothes for our friends who have lost everything.
I have never seen flames from my house like this, ever. This is insanity. I hope everyone is staying safe tonight. Lots of love, lots of prayers.
Okay, we found everyone. We're just packing up the car, getting ready to go to the hotel. It's so big, it's so red. My thoughts and prayers are with everyone tonight. I'm really please stop soon. Our community is beyond devastated. We are all pulling together. A lot of my friends have lost their home. I'm waiting to see if our home will be there. Right now, it's just a waiting game.
Among the buildings threatened, the world-famous Getty Museum with 44,000 artifacts.
I have the waves crashing in front of me here on PCH, and I have the flames behind me here on the hill after coming off of Tabasco Canyon, where embers were being blown around, as you saw. The high school caught fire, homes burning on either side, and that fire over the last few hours just, I mean, look at the gust right now. It's literally pushing, it's blowing south, so it is just throwing these flames over these hills and through these canyons.
Most people have no clue that in 2024, the best way to make money with Amazon is not with physical products. It's Amazon's other company, Audible. Audible has been paying me a steady and reliable income every month for years, and I'm not the only one. People like Katrina, Carmen, Elena, and Renee are all enjoying a significant monthly income using
The headlines. 30,000 people have been ordered to evacuate their homes because of a wildfire which is tearing through wealthy suburbs of Los Angeles.
It's like a ghost town. Everybody's abandoned this place, as you can imagine, and the fires are still smouldering. People would normally be driving up and down here with surfboards on top of their cars, ready to enjoy a day at the beach, but right now it just looks like some sort of apocalypse.
There's not enough structure protection in here to really try and save all of these homes. It's really going to be a struggle. This is heartbreaking. I feel for these people, and it's just sad to watch all these homes go up.
This was just a little antique shop, pizza place. These places have been here forever, ever since I've been alive.
I really thought my shop was gone. It's still here right now. I don't know if it'll make it or not.
There's a lot of people who don't have insurance or fire insurance. I know that's difficult in this area, especially if you're in the fire zone, and I feel horrible for them.
I tell you, I've been here 47 years. I grew up on this block. I saw the other altitude fires, and it was nothing like this. Nothing like this.
My son left the house before us on foot. He doesn't have a cell phone or anything like that, so I'm searching for him now. I'm looking for him.
We got a phone call from a neighbor saying that our house was on fire, and we knew that there were no fire trucks in the area, so we thought we would come up and see if we could get in the area.
Well, I keep going from not crying to now starting to cry again, because I know a lot of these people and they've lost everything. So it's pretty surreal to see all this.
5 minutes ago, I was sitting in the car by myself, and tears just
came over my face. So,
And
my entire history is in the house.
We did take all of our family pictures and a few valuable paintings out last night, so, you know, all the stuff that's here is replaceable. People are not, so.
Very lucky.
So having the family is the most important thing.
I'm going to break down again. That's what I feel. It's my whole life.
Everything was in there.
So
Lost everything.
you shape up. You're supposed to be a support. Anyway, I'm okay. I'll be okay. I'm tough, and we'll start over. Even though I'm 91 years old, I'll start over again.
The difference with this is that we've had these huge 50 to 80 mile an hour winds, and it's still windy. And so it didn't matter where the fire started yesterday, but the embers flew everywhere.
Let's go back to Emma Vardy now. And Emma, this area is no stranger to wildfires, but nothing could have prepared them for this.
What makes this so different is that there are so many fires burning at once, and they're burning so close to residential areas. Now, emergency crews on the ground have admitted they just don't have enough people to deal with this developing situation, and some of those fires are still growing in size. The hillsides are still burning behind us, and every time the winds blow, there's a gust of wind, we're just seeing flames up on the hillside there burst back into life. A reminder of how unpredictable this fire is and how much the winds have been driving it and making life so difficult. We have also been hearing about some serious injuries to residents who did not evacuate their homes, choosing to stay behind for various reasons to try and protect their homes, or simply leaving it too late. So emergency services are continuing to warn people to take evacuation orders very seriously, because this is a day like Los Angeles has not seen before, and it's not even close to being over yet.
The hardest thing is obviously finding products to sell and then getting authorized to sell those products. So with Ecom Authority, they've been able.
This is CBS News on the Hour.
The Southern California wildfires are not only some of the most destructive in state history, they've turned deadly. At least 5 lives now reported lost.
Overnight, destruction continued. 15,000 buildings had been burned, and 100,000 people had been forced from their homes. Firefighters were overwhelmed, and there were increasing reports of looting.
So if I very quickly take my mask off, the air is absolutely thick with smoke. The fire crews here tell us they have a shortage of water, and in many instances they're having to stand and watch these properties burn. It is a losing battle.
I never thought it would come through here.
David was hoping his home might have survived, but the whole neighborhood has gone, and with it, his house too.
I would have thought I'd be seeing more planes flying over with water. I mean, there appears to be just 2. I mean, in California, are there not like 20 or 30 of them that they could have got you already? I would have thought the firemen would like take a stand on a certain area. Maybe they did, and I'm just not seeing it, but.
From Pacific Palisades, the fire spread across more than 17,000 acres, making it one of the biggest natural disasters in the history of Los Angeles. 5 separate fires were now burning. The Palisades and Hearst fires were almost completely uncontained.
We've just been evacuated. We've just been evacuated from this Good Samaritan's car. You got it, Dad.
Moving out vulnerable residents was proving far from easy.
There's a fire right outside our car. We got it. No, not that way, Dad.
My father-in-law has Parkinson's. He can barely move. This was a heroic effort on his part.
It's very wobbly. Here, let me try to get you home.
Which way do I go?
This way, Dad, to the sidewalk.
Let me guess.
I went outside, I saw smoke and fire near my father-in-law's house and realized we need to go. The problem is we didn't have a car. I ran up and down the street where he was, Glen Haven, finally found a neighbor who was willing to swing by and pick us up. Most people had already gone at that point. And at that point, I grabbed his medicine. That's the only thing I could think to grab.
Turn around, Dad. We got this.
And at that point, we jumped in his car. This guy, Jeff, a neighbor we'd never met before.
Hey guys, did you know some drivers are ditching their car insurance and they're doing this instead?
Welcome back to the True Geordie YouTube channel, and today we are covering the LA fires once again. If you haven't seen the first episode I did last time, check that one out before you watch this one. But now things are getting even worse. I mean, the death toll is rising. I think it's at 24. 20 people are missing, and now the theories are coming out as to why this has happened. Conspiracy theories, we're going to touch on them. And we're also going to take a look at all of these people in power who are still covering their backs and acting like I've done nothing wrong. Here is some of the footage that has been captured from this unbelievably devastating event. I mean, it's like a movie, man. It's fucking so sad, and I feel bad for everyone who's been caught up in this. God knows how it feels to just have everything you've worked for burned to the ground, and possibly deliberately. A lot of the comments on the last video, climate change, oh, why are you not bringing it up? It's because I don't know what started it, but the more I've looked into it, the more it seems like people started this. And here are some little videos that I've managed to find of people allegedly starting these fires.
Palisades typically escape damage as Santa Ana winds blow past, since the winds will usually blow any fire up to the north. However, this time, hurricane-force winds drove the flames directly into the neighborhood, reducing many homes to ashes. On January 7th, around 10:20 a.m. local time, a live camera with Alert California, a UC San Diego program to monitor wildfires and disasters in real time, picks up smoke rising. This is the first sighting of the Palisades fire. 6 minutes later, Plane Spotter at LAX catches first plumes of smoke on its live stream.
Not what we want to see here in Southern California. A fire has now broke out.
At 10:58 a.m., resident David Hansen received a video from his mother showing thick orange smoke billowing outside her house on Piedra Morada Drive. The fire size was upgraded from 10 to 200 acres, while containment remained at 0%.
We're in the Palisades Highlands and the fire road is literally on fire.
David Hansen drove to reach his mother and recorded the Palisades fire as it burned an entire hillside beside the road. From his mother's backyard, David filmed helicopters dropping water onto the nearby fires. He tells ABC News he saw them hovering over the edge of Santa Ynez Reservoir and were using a hose to draw up water. The fire spread rapidly, and flames encroached on David's mother's yard. Neighbors rallied together, using water from swimming pools to fight the advancing fire. With 2 more zones ordered to evacuate and 3 new evacuation warnings issued, David decided to drive out. But with high volumes of vehicles trying to evacuate, and with 3 road closures on the Pacific Coast Highway, escaping the flames proved to be difficult for residents. As David drives, he films the road filled with abandoned cars on Palisades Drive. Firefighters are seen battling the flames. David and his mother make it out safe from the flames, and he tells ABC News that thanks to the effort of quick-thinking neighbors, David's mother's home has for now survived.
We're through the fire.
Evacuation shelters are placed around the city, and Governor Newsom declares a state of emergency in California. By night, reports show that the Palisades fire has grown to 1,262 acres, and 2 additional fires occur nearby, Eaton Fire and Hearst Fire. Windy conditions complicated firefighting efforts.
We're getting a 70 knots wind speed. We're going to have to shut down water dropping operations. Also, cancel that 2 additional copters.
January 8th, 12:29 a.m. Palisades fire size has grown to 2,921 acres and is upgraded to 11,802 by 11:45 a.m.
Unfortunately, we have 2 reported fatalities to civilians.
Unknown cause at this time, and we do have a number of significant injuries.
Lydia Fire, north of the 3 active fires, starts around 2:07 p.m. At 5:57 p.m., CAL FIRE reported that the Sunset Fire in the famed Hollywood Hills had started, bringing the total to 5 active fires in the state. The Palisades Fire remained the largest, reaching 17,234 acres by the end of the day, with 0% containment. Weather forecasts indicated another round of Santa Ana winds expected from January 9th to January 10th, with a new high-pressure system building from the north, fueling more gusty winds. The Sunset Fire, which crossed more than 40 acres, was fully contained, but at 3:12 p.m., Kenneth Fire started to burn 50 acres in West Hills. On January 10th, the Palisades Fire has grown to nearly 20,000 acres with 6% containment, and the Eaton Fire to nearly 14,000 acres with 0% containment. Governor Newsom calls for an independent investigation into the, quote, loss of water pressure to local fire hydrants and the reported unavailability of water supplies from the Santa Ynez Reservoir, following a Los Angeles Times report that the Pacific Palisades Reservoir had been closed for repairs at the time the destructive fire started. Firefighters across the country, as well as Canada and Mexico, arrived to help battle the flames. Local authorities vowed to find out what exactly caused what is on track to become the worst natural disaster in U.S. history based on costs.
This task force is made up of local, state, and federal partners designed to investigate the cause of these fires and to see if there's any connection between them.
As of Wednesday, January 15th, at least 25 people have died, and more than a dozen others remain unaccounted for. 4 fires are still active, with Palisades Fire covering more than 23,000 acres and 19% contained.
HoneyBook completely changed how I do business. I'm a photographer and independent business. It's a fact.
Control of this fire. Again, more than 30 acres. And the commander says while this is looking much better at the moment, they are expecting to be on scene for the next 8 to 12 hours. And Scott, you got to wonder if that's just to make sure that every ounce of this was put out. When you talk about the winds that we're expecting later on this week, we just don't need to see anything flare up again.
Yeah, getting a complete knockdown and getting it surrounded with hand crews and making certain it can't spark up again, that's a long-term proposal right there. But right now, I think we're going to have another drop of the sky crane or the air crane. It's so effective and it's so amazing to watch. It's going to come out of the left side of your screen and drop right on that area we've been concerned about. That's Vista Grande Drive, and you will see that helicopter right there dropping 2,800 gallons or so, depending on how they're outfitted, probably for the most part could take that out. And it looks like maybe he's not worried about that. He's going to drop on something else he's been ordered to drop on through that smoke. So there's somebody on the ground directing the aircraft where they want them and where they want them to hit, or another aircraft, a helicopter, that's getting their information from the ground as to which would be the most effective spot to make the drops. But considering what we had, we are looking at pretty good progress so far. But as you mentioned, they'll be here for a long, long time. The bigger the fire, if it's 30, 35 acres, it takes them, like they said, 8 hours or so before they're going to feel comfortable. If it gets really big, then it just blows up exponentially on how long they have to stick around. I think we still have crews up on the fire up above Granada Hills just in case. So that gives you an idea how long they're still around after a fire breaks out.
Definitely, Scott. I want to ask you a question, just so for people who live in Pacific Palisades right now that are wondering, is this my street? Is this my home that's threatened? This fire line that we've seen along these backyards, that's as far as it's encroaching on any homes, correct? Everything to the top of your screen and elsewhere is wildland where nothing else could be threatened at the moment, correct?
Well, if we stop right here for a moment, that street that goes to your left and then out of your screen altogether is Vista Grande Drive. So a couple of the homes right there at the intersection of Charmel Lane, those are the ones that were really affected. That's the intersection right there. Those are the ones that we thought for a moment we may lose. You see more camp crews are coming in. Mm-hmm. Every moment that goes by, we're looking better and better because there's no more fuel to burn on that ridge line that was on fire. But as we pan to the right, that's Charmel Lane. There was a couple of homes in there we may be able to see now through the smoke. That home right there, you can see they got a lot of water on it. You see damage to the railing of the balcony. As we open up and pan to the right a little bit more, there was one home that actually had fire on the roof. Was it that one, Jamie, or that one right in there, I believe? And we saw the shrubs in between the two homes catch on fire. And then we saw some embers on the roof itself, and then they got that out. So let's open up and I'll answer your question. That is Charmel Lane, just to give folks an idea where this is. Now, as we pan to the right, you're correct. There's a lot of brush in there, but up to the right of your screen, those homes a little further to the right that aren't on top of the ridgeline, aren't on Charmel, those are down off Palisades Drive. Palisades Drive runs right through that little canyon there, and that's access to all those homes up in there, and then we showed you that street where they're all piled up trying to get out. That would be in the wake of the fire if we had some winds pointing in that direction. This was terrain driven, so those homes on Charmel Lane were the ones that were really most in jeopardy because they're right on top of the hill. But certainly off of Palisades Drive, all those homes in there, they're trapped. They can't get out right now. So if you live at the end of Palisades Drive, north to Sunset, don't try and come home right now. You just won't get in. But your home is okay. And I don't think there's any concern about the homes at the end of Palisades Drive up in that community. The ones off Charmel and Vista Grande Drive, you're not going to get back into your house for some time either, but you probably don't want to be in here. You'll just be in the way. But the good news is what we see right now, if you're watching, it looks like they're going to save the homes. Unless there's something significant that happens, some big wind change or something like that, I don't see us losing any houses and this fire getting any worse. I see them slowly but surely knocking it down, and that looks like what is happening. A lot of equipment has shown up just in the last couple of minutes.
What a relief and what a remarkable job by all of these firefighters in the air and on the ground. Josh Haskell, ABC 7 Eyewitness News reporter, we're all familiar with. Josh, you're joining us on the phone. This is your hometown. I mean, as far as growing up there, is this something that you guys have faced time and time again just because of the terrain? Was this always a danger and a threat?
No, Brandy, and when you guys went on the air shortly after 11 a.m. and I started to see those photos, I was getting texts from my mom whose home she lives. My parents live up in the Palisades Highlands community, which is about 3 minutes up Palisades Drive off of Sunset Boulevard, and was just really reassured by what Scott Reif just said about those homes up there. Although Scott said, do not go home to those homes right now. They appear to be safe at this point. And, you know, there have been some isolated smaller brush fires, Brandy, over the years, but nothing really like this close to homes. Often when there have been fires in the Malibu area or over Topanga Canyon, we'll see smoke from our house. We'll see the times we have seen some flames, but that's way off in the distance. And so you can just see how thick and dry that brush is that has been burning. And I also just wanted to point out that the homes that were threatened, people who live in the Palisades, grew up in the Palisades, a lot of us refer to that area as the sort of Bienvenida, Lockman Lane communities. Those are not considered the Highlands. But at the top of Lockman Lane, there is Lockman Lane turns into a fire road. And that fire road connects the Highlands community to the top of Bienvenida, Lockman. So there would be a way out. And I believe that Scott has been showing some images of that fire road. And to give you a little bit of context, in the past, that fire road was open when there was a flood situation on Palisades Drive. And that was the only way that we could get in and out of our community. So there is another way besides Palisades Drive. It is that paved fire road, but it is extremely narrow. It is normally locked, and it is not an ideal entry-exit point. And I can just think of everyone, hundreds of homes up in the Palisades Highlands community, and the thought of people having to get in their cars and then all jam on that one road all the way down to Sunset, which essentially is back into where the fire is currently burning. That would be a very dangerous situation. So I just spoke with my mom, and she said there is some ash that's falling at their home, which is further up Palisades Drive near the top of the Highlands. But at this point, they are not under an evacuation a mandatory evacuation to her knowledge. Obviously, that could change or might have changed. I'm actually driving on my way to help in our reporting efforts, so I'm not seeing the latest photos. But definitely some shocking images, Brandy, when I watched the coverage this morning. I'm not used to seeing that area burn.
It's got to be hard for you to watch this. I mean, when you look at some of these homes that we've been showing, is there any that you recognize? I mean, obviously you grew up there. This is your neighborhood. Your mom and dad's house, not far from here, even getting that ash on there. Is this anything that you would recognize as people you might know, Josh?
Yes, actually, a close friend of mine, the Byrons, my friend Drew, he was just on his way to help his parents evacuate. They live up Lockman. And his dad was at work, and just a really scary situation because those roads getting up there are very narrow, and some of them are barely even wide enough for one car. And I'm just thinking about all the fire trucks that are trying to get in there right now. And I know that top of Bienvenida community, there's a lot of hiking up there. It's a huge recreation area for the Santa Monica Mountains. I know my dad hikes there a lot, and I can tell you that a lot of those homes are older, kind of one-story homes. People have lived there for 30, 40 years. I believe my close friend's family has been there for over 40 years, and that just gives you a little bit of context of the fact that at least in the last 20 years that I have lived there, there's not been a situation like this. I know that my friend's home does have some brush clearance in front of it. They actually face the other side of the canyon. But seeing those pictures, a lot of brush right up next to those homes, Brandy, and it was a very scary situation with that one home about 20 minutes ago that you and Scott were reporting on.
Definitely. Josh, thanks for joining us over the phone, giving us some perspective, being that this is your hometown, your neighborhood right now that is being threatened by this brush fire. It's been going on for about an hour and a half now, and we are going to continue our live coverage here on ABC7 for you beyond what would normally be our ending newscast at noon, because this is so important right now, because homes remain threatened. We're going to continue our coverage for you in Pacific Palisades. This brush fire burning more than 30 acres at this point, and Scott Ripe is overhead in Air 7 HD. I'm being joined by Giovanna Lara and Ellen Leyva here momentarily as well. Scott, you look at this, and I can't help but look at the top of your screen, and it looks like, with those homes there on that ridge line, they hit it with a water drop, but those flames are edging even closer, and if any of those trees just catch once again like we saw earlier, it's a whole other ball game again.
Yeah, it certainly could be. The difference between what we're looking at now and what we were looking at when we first got on top of this fire is we have fire crews and structure protection in place. In the back of those homes, you have firefighters ready to go. They have wet lines back there. They're wetting this down. They're in a much better position now than they were when we first got on scene, where there wasn't one fire engine on either of these lanes. That street right there coming at you is Vista Grande Drive. Now, you could tell some of those homes look like they're in pretty tough positions with the fire, but the firefighters are here. The helicopters are making drops. I certainly think that they're going to be able to save these homes. But, I did not know. There comes the air crane, and look at how effective that is. One moment, you're saying, boy, look at those flames close to the houses, and then the next moment, the helicopter hits it, and it really just dies down. But open up a little bit. I was unaware that there's another paved road out of this area, so that's fantastic news. That's Palisades Drive running right up to the top of your screen. And if you live up in that area, you can't get out this way. You can't get out to the south towards Sunset because fire crews have set up right there. But you could tell now about the size of the fires. We look down, they say 30, probably a little bit more than that, probably closer to 40 acres. But a lot of equipment in here, helicopters hitting it hard, ground crews with structure protection, next to all those homes that are in any type of jeopardy, and things really look good compared to what we had before. Now, certainly that's not to say things couldn't go bad in a moment's notice. We've covered enough of these to know that you're never really out of the woods until you're out of the woods and the fire is out, and it's certainly not out. So we keep a close eye on it, but every moment that goes by, there's more equipment in here. We've got the helicopters making more drops. There comes the sky crane again, and he gets water in Encino Reservoir, can be right back in here and can be so effective. It's just phenomenal. That aircraft right there in particular, and can get rid of its water in 3 different drops, I believe, up to 2,850 gallons. Saw a little puff there. I think you'll see a lot more come out of it in a moment, possibly, or they're just trying to figure out where he's going to drop. But I think that helicopter right there in particular saved, if not 1 or 2 homes, because that fire was just about ready to erupt on that hillside and take that house out when he made the drop, and it was so effective.
All right, Scott Reif, thank you very much. Ellen Lave along with Giovanna Lotta. We're continuing this live coverage of this fire that is burning in Pacific Palisades. Right now, you're looking at live pictures from Air 7, a wonderful water drop there. And if you're just tuning in, you've been watching continuing coverage of this brush fire that's threatening homes in Pacific Palisades. Fire broke out just before 11 a.m. in the 500 block of North Palisades Drive.
At least 30 acres have burned so far, and people have voluntarily evacuated the area. The fire is burning in extremely steep terrain. So far, no structures have been damaged and no injuries have been reported. Several homes were threatened along Vista Grande Drive and Charmel Lane. Wind gusts have been fairly calm in the area. That's a good thing, with gusts around 10 to 15 miles per hour. More than 150 firefighters are battling the fire from the ground and the air.
Right now, we're going to check in with Brianna Ruffalo. She's been covering these winds, and how is it compared to what we were expecting, Brianna?
Yeah, it's actually not as bad as what we were expecting, at least for this first Santa Ana event. We're expecting a stronger one now later this week. So we had wind advisories that were supposed to be in effect through noon, and those actually got canceled earlier, which is great news for us and for this. So we're not seeing extreme wind gusts right now in the Pacific Palisades, up to about 15 miles per hour, still possible through about the next few hours. And then it's going to be calm throughout most of the afternoon. Now, we are expecting winds to pick back up again tonight. But again, we're expecting the stronger Santa Ana wind event to be later this week. But we are still dealing with some pretty warm and dry conditions. In Malibu, we have humidity levels down to the teens. A little higher there in Pacific Palisades, but still fairly dry for today. But temperatures pretty warm out there. We're dealing with 85 right now in Malibu. And you can see it burning here from our Malibu camera there. So it is going to continue to be a little breezy over the next couple hours, but nothing like we're going to possibly see a little later this week. So wind's not going to be too strong. We're seeing breezy conditions really in some other areas in the mountain passes and areas like Santa Clarita. Luckily, nothing bad where this fire is burning right now. We could see gusts in the Malibu Hills up to about 25 miles per hour still over the next couple of hours. But as of right now, things are fairly calm. And again, these are going to pick up again overnight tonight. But right now, conditions there not terrible. We're just seeing some warm temperatures, fairly dry out there. But we are expecting the winds in the next Santa Ana wind event later this week on Thursday and Friday to be stronger than this one. So we'll continue to monitor these conditions. I'll send it back to you guys for now.
Okay, Brianna, thank you. Those temperatures have to be difficult for those firefighters. It is warm out there. All right, we have ABC News' Kana Whitworth. She was in the area of this fire and has filed a report for us.
There is a fire burning right now in Pacific Palisades, California. It has already scorched that entire hillside there behind me, and it's running up this one. Fire officials are telling us this is a perfect example of what a terrain-driven fire is like. It sort of slows down as it gets uphill. The problem right now is that at the very top of the hill where you see that smoke, that's where there are homes. So down here, while they are attacking the fire with hoses and hand crews, and what appears to be an all-female hand crew right there in the orange, they're an all-female inmate hand crew. So they're cutting line right now up the side of this hill, but they're having to do water drops and use helicopters up there to drop water and try and protect those homes. It's not terribly windy out here today, but there is just enough wind that it keeps picking up this fire again and again every time they get a handle on it. It's also very hot right now, almost unseasonably warm here in California. And so when you're looking at this fire, it's important to note they have the road closed, but there are homes just up that way and homes and shops, including mine, just down that way. So this is a major concern for firefighters, and they're trying to get this out as quickly as possible. And as I'm talking, you can see all the air attack that they have, multiple helicopters here. There's also news choppers in the sky as well. It's a frantic situation, but it does look like they're trying to get a handle on this as quickly as possible.
That was Kana Whitworth reporting, ABC News reporter. And Giovanna, you could see, how that steep, that terrain is just, it's got to be terrain driven because there are really no winds to speak of.
There is just so much heavy fuel and, as you mentioned, steep terrain. So a difficult firefight for firefighters. And we understand this fire started, as we mentioned, about 10:30, 11, shortly before 11 in a canyon below those homes. And it was only an acre at that time. And very quickly it moved up the hill towards the homes. And at one point, those homes were severely threatened threatened. I mean, they were very close to being burned.
Right,
and
right up the ridge from those fires.
That's right,
burning
up the ridge
flame.
from where it started. And we saw patio furniture on fire. We saw brush near the homes and between the homes on fire. So firefighters have really done an amazing job, a very aggressive firefight with this. Of course, those retardant dropping aircraft help tremendously, as well as the water dropping.
We're going to check in with Scott Reif. You've been covering this. And Scott, we're seeing a lot of white smoke. That's always a positive sign.
Yeah, it certainly is. It looks much better than it did, 10:45, quarter to 11, when we thought maybe we'd lose some of these homes. We see some of the residents that have stayed there, just assisting firefighters. I could try and get this shot back up for you, where they were sucking water out of the pool. Is it that one right there, or the one next door? There it is. And it looks like the residents were watching. They used a pump there, and firefighters are able to get as much water as possible from the pool on those green trees that are pretty large. That would be thick, heavy fuel, even though it's very green. It's watered, not going to take off too quickly. But I want to give you a little perspective and give you a shot overall of what we're seeing. Now, as we open up, on the left side of your screen is going to be Palisades Drive. That's the major that runs north-south off of Sunset. That little street that comes down toward you into the cul-de-sac, that's Vista Grande Drive. I want to push into Palisades Drive. That looks like the origin of the fire. Now, we don't have a cause yet, but it looks like that's where it started, and you can tell the type of terrain that firefighters were looking at when they showed up to a fire that started here. It is so steep, and it just took off up that ridge line. Now, I want to open up a little bit and show you that the other street that was really had homes on it that were threatened is Charmel Lane. In Charmel Lane, there's a county ship, and he's going to make a 1,000-gallon drop. That'll help. But Charmel Lane is that little street that runs up into the smoke, that one right there. There was, I would say, half a dozen, maybe 6 homes or so that were threatened with a wall of flames coming up the hill. They hit it hard with the helicopters, and at that point in time, there was no structure protection in place, and we really felt that they may lose some of the houses. Those houses you see right in the center of your screen, under the smoke, they were almost lost. They did save them with great water drops. They didn't even have structure protection in place. We'll open up now and give you a wide shot. And then on the top left portion of your screen, that's Palisades Drive. And you can see some folks thought they'd try and leave. Now, Josh had mentioned there's another way out from the Highlands area, and I wasn't aware of that. It's a paved fire road, so that's got to give you a little comfort. But a lot of folks thought, hey, we'll get out of this Highland area, try and get down Palisades Drive down to Sunset. We'll open back up, and they're turning around because you can't do that. And the reason is that's where firefighters set up. That's where they have their equipment to try and stop the fire. But a wide shot, you see the smoke from everywhere. It's really blanketed. At least today it's come up, and it hasn't laid right down on some of the homes, but you can see it from the San Fernando Valley and from Los Angeles. But this picture in totality, compared to what we had an hour ago, looks fantastic, because we really thought for a moment or two there we were so close to losing a couple of homes on Charmel when we saw the embers get on the roof and start on fire. But that's right when the helicopters started making drops and right when structure protection got in place. And from what we can tell right now, it looks like they saved these homes. But it was a great effort by the fire department, and it certainly was Mother Nature being on our side, because if we had the Santa Ana wind conditions, I'm certain we would have lost homes.
That's remarkable work by those firefighters. And Giovanna, I was watching these people hosing off their own porches and their backside. But you know what? They were really smart, because they did get out. When the flames got too close, they all got out. They all backed up, carrying bags out to their cars.
And that's
so
the
they
most
were really
important,
good
to know that you need to go when
exactly.
you need to go.
Heed the warning.
And heed the warnings, absolutely. We're going to check in one more time with Josh Haskell, who grew up in the area. Josh, are you with us on the phone? Do you have an update?
Yeah, hey, Giovanna and Ellen. I'm actually on my way right now, and I'm seeing the smoke and really where the fire is active right now from the 10 freeway, just to give you a sense of where we can see just how much smoke is coming from this one area. And at the bottom of, just to give our viewers some context, this is all where it started, where Scott Reif was talking about. That's not too far from where Sunset meets PCH. Palisades Drive starts right off of Sunset, near where Sunset meets Pacific Coast Highway there. This is really on the edge of Pacific Palisades, right before Malibu starts. And right at the bottom there of Palisades Drive, there's a number of shops, and there is a community known as Sea Ridge. And excuse me, I'm actually getting an emergency alert right now, but anyway, so that's the community Sea Ridge. And then about 3 minutes, you have no homes, and then you have the Palisades Highlands up there. That's where my family has lived for 20 years. But the homes that we're seeing, they're really concentrated more in the Bienvenida, Lockman Lane communities of Pacific Palisades, a lot of older homes, one-story homes, and you can just see that brush is so thick and so dry. And I cannot remember the last time there was a fire in that particular area. There have been some smaller incidents, and we've had to use that fire road in the past at the top of Palisades Drive that connects to Lockman Lane that Scott Reich was just talking about. But a little bit of context on that fire road, if Palisades Highlands had to be evacuated, the community where there's hundreds of homes up there where my family lives, they would have to drive through Lockman Lane down in the area where the fire currently is. So that wouldn't necessarily be a good situation either. So I'm glad to hear that just how hard the LAFD is hitting this fire right now. And there is a fire station also right at the bottom of Palisades Drive and Sunset in that area. So I'm sure that's where the first engines were deployed out of.
So,
Javon and Ellen?
So Josh, so I get it right. You're saying the only escape route for them would be Palisades Drive, where the fire started and currently is still being fought? Is that what you're saying?
There is a fire road that's paved. It's a one-lane fire road that is normally locked, but it is in place for situations like this.
Got it.
And the fire road connects the Palisades Hills community, which is in the Palisades Highlands, to the top of Lockman Lane. And if you are looking on a Google Maps or something like that, you'll see it says fire road. I'm sure the fire department, police department have keys to that. I don't believe that they've opened it yet. But that would be a second way out of that. So that's a good situation.
Good.
But I was just saying that if the Palisades Highlands had to evacuate, all those cars would be driving into the area where the fire is currently being fought. So it would be quite a traffic situation with extremely narrow roads in that neighborhood. Really, you have to pull to the side. A lot of times only one car can kind of get through very hilly communities there up on the top of Lockman Lane, Bienvenida, and the images that you guys have been showing this morning.
Then you have the challenge of the fire engines trying to get up and to fight those fires. But speaking of evacuations, Josh, you talked to your parents. How are they doing? Are they prepared? Do they have a standby kit, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's just together.
Josh, we lost you. Oh, Josh is driving, and sometimes the phone connection will drop. So we'll see if we can get him back in just in a little bit. But he said, Josh said that he hadn't seen a fire in this area in a long time. So sometimes when it doesn't happen, you're not really prepared for these things. But hopefully, folks know to gather their things quickly.
And also with that means a
lot
of fuel there, a lot of brushes. We can be watching on these cliff sides. It's really tough for them to even fight it, except from the air. We have some pictures from our Eyewitness News viewers, Giovanna, that we want to share with our folks at home. And there you have it. This is from Brandon Beardsley on the right and Linda Green. We appreciate these photos because, you can safely shoot them. Obviously, these are from a distance, but you can see the big plume of smoke. And it's always disheartening when you see that plume of smoke and wondering where it's coming from before you get the news.
It really is very upsetting. And the good thing right now is that firefighters seem to have contained this fire and they've been able to protect those homes. But as we heard from Air 7 HD, Scott, he said that initially there was no structure protection in place. And so can you imagine how nervous those homeowners must have been when that wall of flames was heading their way and there was no structure protection. So thank goodness for those aircraft, the water dropping aircraft. They really make the difference in these firefights.
Certainly do. And we saw those flames lapping right up against those homes. So that was some scary moments, some very tense moments. And, those people leaving in a hurry and trying to get out that one-lane road, as Josh was mentioning. And that's also challenging when you're up in those hills. But what beautiful views these people have usually.
Absolutely. Let's check in again with Scott Reif. Scott, any updates on the progress for firefighters?
Well, every moment that goes by, they're making some progress on this fire. It looks really good, actually, compared to what we saw even just 15 minutes ago. And that gives you an idea. To pan up, just go to the strike crew for a moment there, Jamie. It gives you an idea. Response time when a fire breaks out is so critical in making sure the fire doesn't spread quickly and take out homes. You can see how much protection they have now. You can see the strike crew in the back of this home. That's on Vista Grande Drive. As we open up a little bit, you see all that ash coming down through your screen as well. So it's going to be a while before this neighborhood gets back to normal. All that ash gets inside your home. It can ruin your carpet, that type of thing. And it's certainly unhealthy air. But I want to give you a little bit of a wide shot and a little more perspective. Most of the thick, heavy fuel that is right below these homes on the ridge line has burned. They've made drop after drop of water, so it looks very, very good. That's that's Palisades Drive right in the middle of your screen. And on the top of your screen, that's the Highlands area that Josh was talking about. Got to be comforting to know for those folks, they do have that fire road to get out. I think I see it now. I just didn't know that you could actually get out that way, so that's fantastic. But give me a completely wide shot, as wide as you can go, Jamie, of the smoke and the fire. And if you were with us, an hour and a half ago, right after this started, this looks fantastic. Most of the fuel up against the homes is already burned. They have a lot of structure protection in place. I think for you folks who live up there in the Highlands, don't worry, you're going to be okay. If you have a home on Charmel, there was half a dozen homes or so where you got smoked out and the fire burned right up to your house. You may have a balcony that was burned. You may have some patio furniture or an umbrella that was lost. But that's it. So you can be thankful. From what we've seen so far, they've saved the structures. The fire is laying down nicely due to the fact that we don't have much in the way of wind, and we had a lot of resources here to contain this. So containment is not, a foregone conclusion at this point. They don't have a containment number for us. It certainly will be a while. But because of that type of structure protection and the crews that are here, they're really starting to get a handle on this fire, and it has not spread much in the last 15 to 20 minutes, and that's just great news.
Absolutely, Scott. Thank you. Thank you for that update. And if you're just tuning in, you're watching continuing coverage of a brush fire threatening homes in Pacific Palisades. This fire broke out just before 11 a.m. in the 500 block of North Palisades Drive. At least 30 acres have burned, and people have voluntarily evacuated the area.
The fire is burning in extremely steep terrain, a terrain-driven fire. So far, no structures have been damaged, maybe a little bit singed on some of those corners that Scott was mentioning. No injuries have been reported, thankfully. Several homes were threatened along Vista Grande Drive and Charmel Lane. Those wind gusts have been fairly calm, though, in the area, with gusts about 10 to 15 miles an hour, much better than we thought. More than 150 firefighters are battling the fire from the ground and the air.
We're going to check in now with Brianna Ruffalo on the weather conditions out there. Very hot for firefighters out there.
Yeah, we are dealing with some warm and dry conditions, but luckily those winds are not as bad as we were expecting. We were supposed to have that wind advisory in effect through noon today. It actually ended up getting canceled earlier because we didn't see gusts as high as we thought we would, but we could still, over the next couple hours, through about 2, 3 o'clock, see gusts in the Palisades up to about 15 miles per hour. Some other areas in the Malibu Hills up to about 20 to 25. So still going to see some somewhat breezy to windy conditions at times, but nothing major. But what we are dealing with is just some warm temperatures out there. We are seeing the temperature in Malibu at about 85 degrees right now, so feeling very warm out there. And we're seeing humidity levels in the teens in some spots. But again, those wind speeds not as bad as we were initially expecting. We've been seeing the image of the smoke here from our Malibu camera. You can see it now. It is actually looking a little bit better than what we were seeing just a little while ago. But at least the winds have not been too bad. We see the humidity level in Malibu there at 14%. And we could see those gusts there up to about 25 miles per hour the next couple hours. But in the Palisades, expecting them to be up to about 15. And then tonight, we're going to have calm winds throughout most of the rest of the afternoon. And then overnight tonight, we're expecting those winds to pick back up. So it's a weak to moderate Santa Ana event through tomorrow. And then we get a slight break on Wednesday. And then those winds are expected to pick back up on Thursday. So we're now expecting that stronger Santa Ana to be toward the end of the week. But again, throughout the rest of the day today, we could see gusts here where this fire is up to about 20 miles per hour with those humidity levels down to the teens in some spots. And then again, we're just dealing with those pretty warm temperatures, but we're lucky that we're not seeing those winds extremely high today. I'll send it back to you guys for now.
Yeah, Brianna, gives them a really good window to work on these fires before those winds might pick up this afternoon a little bit. But we're seeing continued water drops, and they're doing really good progress there. We're going to check in with Josh Haskell, who actually grew up in this area and joins us now on the phone. Josh? Josh, we have you? Oh, Giovanna, we might have lost him.
Okay, yeah, he was driving earlier. He was along, heading actually to this fire, to the Palisades. He grew up in the area. He doesn't live there now.
Right.
So he was on his way to the fire. So, cell service.
And driving through those canyons can be really tricky.
Can be very difficult. But we just saw Air 7 catch some flames there. So this firefight is not over, as he mentioned. That this is still a very real threat. Although they have been able to protect those homes. Josh, we got you. We can hear you now.
I've been on, so they can come to me again.
Okay, Josh. You're on,
Josh.
Hey there. Hey there, Ellen. Misty, as we're approaching these scenes, just a number of speeding by me on Pacific Coast Highway is trying to clearly assist all residents that live up there. There's also one at the Calvary School, just right at the bottom of Palisades Drive and Sunset. A pretty large school, private, and I am not sure what if the students are still there or if they were sent home for the day. That is the one school.
Well,
go for it, Ellen.
Josh, we have apologized. It's self-service, and it can be tricky like that. And we're getting about every 4 words there, Josh. So we'll establish a better connection and get back with Josh.
Check in with him.
Exactly.
And maybe when he's settled in the area, he can give us a report from the ground. Yeah. But you can see, I love looking at this when we see the air tankers.
It's wonderful.
That is just, it's hope, right, in the sky that they'll be able to.
Especially those people that have the homes down.
Exactly. For them, it's got to be a wonderful sight as well. But again, we continue to follow this firefight in the Pacific Palisades area. Again, this started about 10:30, shortly before 11 a.m. in a canyon below the homes along I think I said Palisades Drive, correct? And then very quickly the flames went up. It started at 1 acre and now we're at 30 acres and counting. But they do seem to have, firefighters do seem to have contained this fire, and that is the best news. There was a wall of flames heading to several groups of homes. I think Charmel Lane was one of them. About half a dozen homes threatened
Vista
there.
Grande as well.
And Vista Grande, but firefighters were able to protect those homes. We did see some decks on fire and some shrubs between homes on fire, some patio furniture. But again, the homes themselves are they were able to save.
We saw a lot of people using their own hoses to hose off the backyard and their fences, but they were able to get out of there because once the flames got close, they were really quick about evacuating, backing out their cars and leaving. A lot of them leaving, running out of their homes with bags of stuff, and so we've been watching that. But thankfully these winds have been very mild, at very dry, low humidity, but still the winds are what really cause issues here, especially with this terrain-driven fire and those working up the hill like that.
Well, it's those 3 factors, right? Low humidity, we've got the warm temperatures and the wind. Today we don't have the wind. Very mild, breezes, so that is the good news. But later in the week we are expecting more wind, so hopefully we don't have a repeat of this kind of situation because that can be more difficult to manage.
We talked to Josh Haskell. He grew up there, for 20 years. His parents have been living there, and he said that he can't remember a fire there. So you've got a lot of dry vegetation there that's been growing for years. It's been very low humidity, so they have a lot of fuel.
And we had the heavy rains recently that helped all that fuel grow.
Exactly.
So let's check in once again with Scott Rife. Scott.
Yeah, now the hard work begins. You see these fires, you say, oh my goodness, look, we're going to lose a house. They saved them all here. But now look at the line of firefighters. This is on the southern edge of the fire where we really had most of the homes affected on top of the hill. But as we come down, this is really, really hard work. And that's why they don't give you containment numbers on these fires for some time, because you've got firefighters coming up that ridge line, dragging hoses up in there. There was a little flame a moment ago right on Palisades Drive. It wouldn't surprise me if that was a backfire. They're going to take advantage of that at this point, try and get rid of any brush that could start later on. And they continue to make drops with the helicopters, but that's hard work. That's how they actually put these fires out. Guys out there with shovels and with lines and climbing up these steep hills. It's not easy. I want to give you a wide shot just for some more perspective and just get to those folks who may be watching who live in this area. Vista Grande Drive was really threatened. A couple of homes right at the corner of Charmel Lane and Vista Grande Drive. That's where that cul-de-sac ends right there. And then Charmel Lane sort of curves up along the top of the ridge line right in there. Several homes were threatened. It looks like they have been saved. It's a phenomenal job by the firefighters. And boy, when that fire came up that hill, I don't know if we have some of the video from earlier, but it was a wall of flames going up the ridge line. There was no structure protection in place, and then here come the helicopters. That's Palisades Drive, right in the middle of your screen. On the top of your screen, that's the Highlands area off of Palisades Drive, where Josh Haskell's parents live. If you live in that area, you're fine. This fire is not going to threaten you. They're getting a handle on it. They've saved the homes. There's a lot of structure protection in place right now. So I think we're going to be okay unless we have some sort of real big wind shift, and that's not forecast. So all good news from here right now compared to what we saw earlier. So we're thankful we didn't have the winds, and we're certainly thankful the firefighters were able to save these people's homes.
It's wonderful to witness this aerial assault as we take a live look from the pictures from Air 7 HD, but to see the precision they're dropping, the way they can really control and make a fire line has been remarkable to see how quickly they've progressed on this fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And earlier, Brandy was talking about the firefighters' strategy to use, I believe, the water dropping before the retardants. There was a strategy that they had in place in regards to their firefight from the air. It looks now that these are live pictures from Air 7. You see the crews on the ground, but earlier we've seen the water drops.
Exactly.
I believe those were happening first before the retardants were being brought in.
And they really had to do that because of this terrain. There was impossible to get into some of those homes. And these homes are on the top of a very high ridge, a very steep terrain leading up to those homes. So they were able to make those fire lines and do a break there. I'm not sure if those are firefighters there. Yeah, they've done a remarkable job of structure protection as well. And a lot of these homes have done really good jobs about their brush clearance and keeping their homes, off the radar just by making it clear.
Yes, and the fire department does a good job of communicating with homeowners and really getting on them every year. We get the notices. I don't know if you get a notice, but you make sure that your brush clearance is where it needs to be to protect your home and protect your neighbors, and again, prevent firefighters from having to do work that they shouldn't have to
do. You know, we've been watching pictures that you've been sending in to our social media accounts, and we want to thank you for being an eyewitness to this fire and posting your pictures and video of the fire. If you have any pictures or video to share, you can also do it safely and send it to us using that hashtag ABC7Eyewitness, and hopefully we have a few of those. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
And you can see earlier on, this was a lot of dark smoke that was billowing up from Palisades, and since then we've seen a big relief with the white smoke and getting it under control.
Yeah, firefighters have done an amazing job as usual, and firefighting under difficult conditions, very hot temperatures. And I'm not sure if Brianna Ruffalo can join us and give us an update on the conditions out there. And I know the winds are okay today, but they are expected to kick up this week.
Yeah, luckily we're not seeing wind gusts too high in that area, expecting up to about 15 miles per hour this afternoon, and that's really going to be only through about the next hour or so where we're expecting to see those gusts, but much calmer than we were expecting. We had that wind advisory that was supposed to be in effect through noon and actually ended up getting canceled earlier because we just were not seeing the gusts that we thought we were going to see. So this Santa Ana event that we're experiencing today, we are seeing some winds pick up in some areas, so you can see it here. We're seeing most of it in the Santa Clarita area and in most of the Santa Ana wind-prone areas, but you can see along the coastline and areas near Malibu, we're not seeing winds too high there right now. And so today has been fairly calm, not too bad, just dealing with some warm temperatures, dry weather, but we can expect to see these winds pick up through later this week. So today we could still see over the next couple hours gusts up to about 15 miles per hour in the Pacific Palisades. Malibu, we could see them up to about 25 miles per hour. And then you can see this afternoon is going to be fairly calm and then picking up again overnight tonight in some spots. But again, through tomorrow, this is a fairly weak to moderate Santa Ana event. So we're getting a slight break on Wednesday, and then we're going to see those winds pick back up again toward the end of the week, so Thursday and Friday. But you can see our temperature is very warm, though. With this Santa Ana, we're seeing a lot of 80s out there already, and so we're seeing temperatures even at the beaches fairly warm right now, and so we have firefighters dealing with conditions in the mid 80s for that area. We're at 85 right now in Santa Monica and Long Beach, even in the low 90s. So we're even seeing these warm temperatures along the coast. But again, these winds are not going to be extreme today, but if it is later this week, Thursday and Friday, that's when we're expecting to see some more elevated fire weather. I'll send it back to you guys for right now.
Yeah, hopefully they'll stay calm as well. You know, we always hope that the winds won't pick up. Well, if you're just tuning in to Eyewitness News, you're watching continuing coverage of a brush fire that has been threatening homes in Pacific Palisades. It's gotten very close. This fire broke out just before 11 a.m. in the 500 block of North Palisades Drive. That's pretty much where Sunset meets PCH. At least 30 acres have burned, and people have voluntarily evacuated the area. We saw people just leaving their homes very quickly when they saw the flames getting too close.
Smart move.
Yeah, exactly. And fire officials say as conditions permit, they will get a formal size of the fire.
Right. The fire is burning in extremely steep terrain, as you can see from our live pictures from Air 7 and our video taken earlier. So far, no structures have been damaged and no injuries have been reported. Several homes were threatened along Vista Grande Drive and Charmel Lane. Scott Reif